Just an ordinary wall. Nothing to see here. Just an ordinary wall. Nothing to see here. Yeah. Why? It's a wall. An ordinary wall.
Why must we stop to look at this wall every time we pass by? We have business to attend to.
Went native on the chief, huh? Those ballerina antics were reckless. Should have just punched him in the throat again. Let's talk about our right to work. Don't think so.
Suddenly, this feels like a really, really bad idea. Silence. He takes the photo. Grey eyes dart back and forth on the glossy surface. His face is unmoving, hard as a stone. But beneath it, you see dead flesh in colorful rivers of polychrome, melting skin and hair.
Fucking loincloths. Really did him in. Yeah. What it means. I can tell you what this one means. Only one. You want to hear what happened here? Our colonel is deep in the bush here. Deep in the fucking bush. In Benital, 41. Monsoon season. He's on a reconnaissance mission.
Benital is one of the inhabited islands of the Seminoese archipelago near the Pale. Covered in jungle, it was anchor point for the Seminoese nationalists in the proxy war held on the islanders' territory.
He spent a month behind enemy lines, scouting kept villages. Nothing but fucking bugs and snakes for fun. Men are getting restless. There's talk of switching employers.
With some strange emotion, this is about to get really graphic. Last moment to back off.
Our boy, he's only a captain then, but he knows how these men think. If they don't see action soon. At dawn, he comes upon two kids, breeding in the bushes by the river. Or maybe they weren't breeding. Maybe they were just making eyes at each other. I like to think they were breeding. We shot the boy. He was useless, but the girl, she was nice. A little fat, you know, but not too old. She was quite the entertainment. For the week she lasted, expired in the hands of Sarge Mason. The kind of guy who'd make Chief there shit his pants and cry like a bitch. God. Mason couldn't let go. Cut the tits off her cold body and fucking ate them. Said primitive spirits were watching over him now. Drowned in a creek a week later. Spirits my ass.
Something stirs in your stomach. There's a word on the tip of your tongue. Colorless, odorless. It's...
No, I was in the domain, in Jamrock, being a bouncer. Go ahead. All right now. Free commerce! Keep the goods flowing!
On the photo in your hands, the dead man's skin is studded with stars. Tens, hundreds of them, littering his dead skin.
Free flow of commerce! Fucking bug.
You hear a tiny rattle, a small radio, cracking somewhere, an earpiece. I'm going to interpret that as a yes. There's a tribunal, and it won't be long until it's ready.
How about you fuck off now, huh?
Okay, of course.
There could be weapons aiming at us right now, somewhere above, in the buildings. The other merc. Don't push this. He's thinking, this is not the time. The man's breathing steadies, but his eyes are still narrow. Slowly, he's trying to get his right to work dance back on. Scattering of bullet holes is spread across the cracked wall, reaching from one corner to the other.
Correct. The density of the bullet holes is unusual, even in a general average bullet hole frequency in Martinez's sense. Grim affairs. Meaning, this is a lot of bullet holes. Looks like fully automatic rifle fire. Something you don't see these days. The manufacturing and sale of automatic rifles was curtailed after the revolution. The destructive power of such tools proved to be too much. We do need to retain some humanity in this world.
A scattering of bullet holes is spread across the cracked wall, reaching from one corner to the other. A row of ghostly shades stand facing the wall. There are many of them, a dozen at least, their heads lowered and eyes blindfolded. It's quiet. No sound, no movement. 10 meters away, other shades are lined up in an orderly manner, automatic rifles primed. A gust of wind blows by. The coats of the firing squad flap slowly in the breeze. A single person stands on the side. Droplets of rain fall on the wooden planks, the surrounding sand dunes. The clouds block out any rays of light. A long time has passed since the moment of this fusillading. Rain and brine have since washed all the blood away. Not a trace remains. The abundance of bullet holes leads to two options. Either an inordinate amount of executions were performed here, or they did not use a conscience round, where only one soldier has the loaded rifle. Looks like this was a mass execution with everyone fully armed. A host of men, probably in everyday clothes, ragged from the conflict and covered in dust. They were not sitting, a common practice for executions in some nations, as demonstrated by the height level of the bullet holes. They stand, facing the wall. It's impossible to discern any details about their personality or background. Ordinary people, familiar, each and every one of them. Collateral damage on the path toward normalcy and progress. Such is your belief, officer. Maybe you should change it. They were praying, screaming. 7 men in combat uniforms and dark coats, holding automatic rifles aimed at the people. Soldiers from some side, but from which one? The commandant, the one who gives the order. Machine gun fire crackling through the air. The lights of the muzzle flashes dancing on his face.
I don't know. I don't know who died here, lined up beside that horrible wall. It could have been any of the parties involved in the revolution. Perhaps the ones executed here were the loyalist conservatives, killed by the communists at the start of the Civil War. Or it could have been the communists, put to death during the last stretch of the conflict by the coalition forces. It could even have been the employees of the failed R&D center down the coast, as their building was taken over by the revolutionaries.
Or maybe...
Yeah, it's very unlikely the coalition forces were the ones who died here. They were always the last ones against the wall. To be honest, if a coalition member was anyone in this situation, it was the commandant, the superior giving the orders.
A cold sea wind blows away the figures.
Mikhail noticed the windows, especially with how there are no windows on the south side. This was to deal with. You officers, come to investigate the historic subtext of West Martinez? I'm Tran Heilostam. You must be Kim Kitaragi, right? I was just telling my son about this building. Not a lot of people realize the historic significance here. Very rich in hypertext.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, hypertext. Young Carp and the collection of cultural hyperlinks. Oh yes, so Mikhail. They had to deal with monitor glare, especially in the summer. They still had vector monitors back then. That was 49 years ago. So they didn't have windows on the south wall. No, I can't say that we've met before, but I've heard of Kim, of course. Mikhail, say hi to the officers. Mikhail's a little tired today. We spent all night trying to run Orbis on his radio computer. Have you heard of it? It's a programming language used in Grad. Quite tricky, but he wanted to play this Grad-made adventure program. We've been getting really into Worms lately.
The man speaks in the artificial cadence of a professor, or someone who's been on too many radio shows.
But I assume you're not here for giant worms when there are so many real things to see. Just as I was telling Mikhail before, this is where the Coalition landed in '08. We could be standing on what is the most interesting landmark in Revachol West.
This man is your half-brother. You feel it. But why? Well, get a load of this guy. He really enjoys his trivia. The Orbis programming language was named after its inventor, Victor Orbis, a cybernetician from Grad. They run Vox in the Occidental countries.
Aha! But it's not just any empty old building. What not a lot of people know is this used to be the R&D department of Felt Electrical. And Felt, which now sells ink cartridges mostly, was once a top dog in the turn-of-the-century cybernetics boom.
Hold on. What's R&D?
Apologies, it's an acronym for research and development. They don't use it anymore. You're probably more familiar with RTD, Research and Technological Development.
Mea culpa. You are not familiar with that one either. This man is a bookhead. It looks old and weathered, with seagulls picking apart its stone and metal carcass. Bushy undergrowth has taken hold of the collapsed rooftop. Some kind of bird has set up a nest on a broken windowsill.
That's not surprising. Only a vestigial ink cartridge and ferrotape manufacturer remains. They started out as a midway electronics outfit in Königstein 2 centuries ago. After an aggressive move to Revachol, Feld became a global player in the emerging personal electronics market of the pre-revolutionary era. Still, Tricentennial was beating them in business machines. But Feld had an ace up their sleeve, or should I say they were developing an ace up their sleeve. I'm mixing my metaphors here. It was here in Martinez, possibly in this very building, that they developed prototypes for a tape computer. An elegant folding mechanism of rollers and ferrotape ribbons, portable enough to be a take-it-home solution, revolutionizing business machines, possibly even bring them to the average consumer, which is a feat of engineering even today's giants, Rehm, ICN and ZAM, haven't achieved yet.
He assumes something like a combat stance, facing the wind.
Indeed. What?
The revolution!
Unfortunately, their moonshot project never made it to the market. Feld's move to Revachol backfired. The revolutionary government liquefied their assets and expropriated those very advanced prototypes. Possibly from this very building, or one of the adjacent ruins. All of this was built by Feld, even a boardwalk. Wild Pines built Martinez proper as a resort for their middle management. Feld built this side of town for R&D. Yes, they even built a pleasure wheel, but that got destroyed in the war.
A pleasure wheel?
Perhaps reminded of a childhood memory. It's clear he would prefer there were a big wheel lighting up the coast.
Yes, to lure in their star engineers. This part of Martinaise was nothing but reeds before Veld arrived. They had to make the prospect of living here attractive. It was supposed to become a global center for innovation in cybernetics. But history had other plans. Oh, I'm afraid it didn't end well for the boys. But this story is a bit too dark for little Mikhail here. Now, if you were to ask about tape computers...
Wait, is he saying that we should just bypass the excesses of the revolution?
Tape computers. They used them for military communications, but also to write and send out press releases, the most notorious example being Le Décret de Mars. What's the Mars Decree? I mean the radio transmission sent out to news agencies and world governments by the newly created Commune of Revachol on the 7th of March in the year 02.
A short-lived legislative foundation for a short-lived utopia.
It's a beautiful piece of text, actually. A singer-songwriter I know, Charette, called it a love poem to Revachol on her political concept album, Bon Baiser dans ce Lind. You should read it. Every local library in Revachol stocks a copy of the decree. I tried to get Mikhail to memorize it. Tried to. Someone was much too interested in worms to be paying any attention.
The kid takes a peek at the green and silver worm on the cover of the book, already forgetting about this part of the discussion.
Actually, no one knows. No one even knows what a computer made entirely of tape would look like. But word has it, they were very elegant. exquisite, alien-looking turn-of-the-century hardware.
Buckle up.
10 years ago, I did a little freelancing, I guess you could say. I was a special consultant for an exhibition at the Wompty Dumpty Dum Center in Vredefort, Oranje. It raised the same questions, and we had lengthy discussions with Paul Ockerman, who was head curator at the time. This was before the twins Keith and Guy Juice joined the team, trying to...
Wait, did he just say Wompty Dumpty Dum Center? He did it. He said Wompty Dumpty Dum Center, like it's the most natural thing in the world. What the hell is a Wompty Dumpty Dum Center? And who the hell are Keith and Guy Juiced?
The Wompty Dumpty Dum Center for Contemporary Arts. The exhibition itself drew on Lagerman's notion of memory, and so there were some parallels. That's why the head curator, Paul Ockerman, chose to... In fact, I'm not. The Wompty Dumpty Dum Center is a place you can visit if you're ever in Vredefort and are ever in the market for an exhibition space / contemporary art research center. But perhaps I should return to the tape computers. As I was saying, the device itself was very elegant, fragile even. One could write directly on the tape using a special chemical solution. The machine would then analyze the handwriting, perform operations, and project output onto a white screen. It was a beautiful, delicate thing.
Made of black film and folding tape structures.
Very, very cool. Though I understand the socio-economic causes of the revolution, it pains me to imagine the revolutionaries setting fire to this precious device. But so they did. The felt playback experiment vanished into the fires of '07. Yes, the official name of the prototype. Some sources report it as the Felt Playback Experience, but those are incorrect. Who knows? Maybe it was an accident, or maybe they didn't want the technology to end up in the wrong hands. Either way, they're all gone now. All 3 versions of the prototype. Nothing but debris and ashes remain inside that building. But of course, what else? Sure, what's on your... But of course, what else? I do have some money, yes, but that's not what's really important here.
He's not gonna give you money. What are you doing? Clearly you were just profiling. No, I mean, come on. You need the money. If it's not a thing, he can give you some.
Oh no, I don't have it on me, officer. I was talking in more general terms. I'm just spending time with my kid here, showing him around the lesser-known parts of our hometown. It wouldn't be wise to carry huge amounts of cash on such expeditions.
Not that he would have to worry about being robbed. He looks surprisingly buff. Does he work out?
I do some Lomantang stick fighting now and then.
Lo Mantang stick fighting is a form of martial arts originating from the island of Lo Mantang. It uses slender wooden sticks for confronting the opponent.
Actually, a great many cultures have their own version of stick fighting, such as the sacred Mabolo tradition of the Harley people, the name deriving from the butterfruit tree traditionally used for crafting the long, slender sticks, whereas the sticks used in other cultures...
You doze off as he paints you a comprehensive picture of the history of stick fighting among mankind, seasoning it with unexpected pop culture references. Man, he's good at speaking. People must love him.
But anyway, I'm boring you with details again. You were saying? Then I guess everything got said, right? I do some...
Lo Mantang stick fighting.
Lomantang stick fighting is a little like a Berolidin addiction. I've been practicing it for nearly 20 years now, so you could say that my doses have grown a little peculiar.
Wait, what does this man know about Pyrrolidon addiction?
You got me, Detective. But my history should hardly come as a surprise.
Here's a former junkie. I can recognize one when I see it.
Dad's fighting with sticks every night after dinner for 4 hours. He has a special room for that and a special costume.
That's right, Mikhail. It also has a meditative quality. Helps to clear my head. But anyway. No, thanks to you for having me and little Mikhail here to pick your brain. A very interesting conversation indeed.
Pick your brain? If anything, this was rather one-sided. He did the talking. Whatever. Motorway south. The lone vector stretches in your mind's eye into the wild pale yonder. For an unimaginable distance, forgetting, until you can no longer remember anything. No cities, no mountains, no oceans, and finally, no vector. Nothing remains. A blank space with no point of reference, where only one type of motion is possible. The motion of a human throat, swallowing, and then it comes to you. To reach the end of the motorway south is to be unborn. You've had this thought before, while aimlessly wandering the streets of Jamrock. A lost piece of the man you were. A dark hope. see a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D. A slogan used to intertwine with the loops a long time ago. Now, only a shadow of peeled letters remains. It says, "Tomorrow is just a whisper away."
Looks like tomorrow never came.
The remaining windows rattle from a strong gust of wind. They're covered in a thick layer of grime. They must have been like this for 40 years. Dripping water falls from a high place. All you can see is the shadow of a collapsing staircase.
No, I won't even try. You know, I had a partner once. They called him Eyes, because he had to show me things. It's that bad.
This partner of his, Eyes, things didn't end well. It saddens him to say his name. Don't even ask. He wouldn't answer. Maybe some other small talk.
Well enough, actually. It's odd how that works. I'm no sharpshooter, but I pass my shooting courses 7 out of 10.
His hands lead the way when it comes to that. And his shoulders. It's reflex.
Go. Nice and easy. No way out, little guys. Not out of this jam.
There's a cylinder on the ground in which the man is arranging some netting. It looks like some kind of trap. He notices you.
Who's there? Oh, the police. Hello, officers.
His self-conscious enthusiasm renders his movements ungainly. He looks like your understanding of a scientist.
Is that the police? Why are the police here?
Don't worry, Gary. I'll handle it. To what do I owe the pleasure?
That's sarcasm. He takes no pleasure from your appearance.
Oh no, it's all right. I'm just busy. What's this about? Of course. Thank you for passing along the message. That damn water lock is broken, and we can't go all the way around the A81. You broke the water lock with a motor carriage? But there was a billboard in the canal. Not a vehicle. It said Samaran Butter.
Did he say we can go back now?
Yes, Gary. We can go soon. If you see Lena, tell her I won't be long.
Sir, your wife is waiting for you.
I just have to do one more round. See if the phasmid has taken the bait. Then we're going.
For all his passion, this man is diligent and patient. You could learn things from him.
Well, first of all, it's damn difficult to find, which is why we've been knee-deep in the reeds laying traps for it. Good question. Being a phasmid of the order Phantasmodea, a ghost insect, It disguises itself as plant matter. In this case, the reeds. Awful lot of reeds around, aren't there? And I suspect it may have also developed other specialised techniques to protect itself from predators, or scientists, in our present case. It's my hypothesis that it has evolved certain electrochemical defences that allow it to interfere with animal perception, impeding pattern recognition, confusing the visual cortex. But I cannot describe how these defences work, much less how they evolved, without studying a live specimen.
Yes, it makes perfect sense. You're beginning to suspect there's something paranatural about this phasmid.
I'm expecting it to be quite giant. One known species of phasmid, called the Megaphasmodeozoensis, is about the size of a grown man's forearm. So, typical rookie assumption. Insects are much more sophisticated creatures than those unversed in zoology give them credit for. Even simply catching a glimpse of the Insulindian phasmid would be the apex of my, of any, cryptozoologist's career. But to study it and its defences, find out how it stayed hidden so long. Very little, I'm sorry to say. No one's ever captured a specimen, so all our information is based on first and third-hand accounts. Not yet. That's what makes it a cryptid.
Just out of curiosity, if there's no proof of its existence, how do you know it's real?
I know it's real.
It's clear that his obsession with the phasmid is driven by something more than the pure pursuit of scientific advancement.
By which I mean, I've heard enough first-hand accounts to believe quite firmly that the Insulindian phasmid is more than mere superstition. Yes, the most recent sighting was by a couple of teenagers along the coast here. That's what brought us to Martinez specifically. It's the first credible sighting in several decades. Admittedly, it's an unusual location for this species, but with all the sewage runoff upstream, it probably doesn't matter much anymore. I have to resist the thought such an extraordinary creature is doubtlessly highly resilient. After all, it's generally thought to be capable of parthenogenesis. Yes, the females don't need males to reproduce. Makes it easier for a species to survive in adverse conditions. Yes, the Insulindian phasmid is a very clever insect. That's why it's so damn difficult to catch. But as a scientist, I'll try my best to remain dispassionate. Well, they may not look impressive, but Lena designed them quite cleverly, so I'm sure they'll do the trick. Yes. Simple. Attracted by the locusts, the phasmid crawls down the funnel and, having eaten its fill, can't get back out. At least, that's the intention. The net isn't a perfect solution, but we didn't want to use anything that might damage the specimen's delicate exoskeleton. Locusts. Nearly all known phasmids are herbivores, of course, but we've hypothesized that the Insulindian phasmid might occasionally prey on other insects.
Inside the traps, a number of locusts crawl and tumble over one another in a tiny, chittering swarm.
They'll work, I assure you. The predatory hypothesis, using locusts as bait, accounts for the failure of previous efforts by other teams, which use plants. We have given this some thought. Yes. What? And I'm eager to return to her, I assure you. But I can't leave before we finish with these traps. My wife understands that just as well as anyone.
Come on, Morel. We've been soaking out here for days. It's time to go back.
And leave the traps? Absolutely not. I won't let Lena down.
Come on, she wants us back. I'm soaked up to my nuts over here. We'll both catch reed crabs if we don't dry out soon.
Won't let Lena down? Sounds like the cryptozoologist's wife shares a special connection to the Phasmid somehow.
Of course it's important to her. She's seen it. A verified sighting, on record. One of only 4 this century, and it's hers. Yes, that's how we first came to know one another, in fact. But that's her story to tell, not mine.
Needless to say, you must ask her about the mysterious Phasmid.
Suffice to say, it's long been our dream to find proof of the Insulindian Phasmid together. I can't abandon course now. No. The traps need to be monitored on a regular schedule. What would we do if the Phasmid were to starve while we were sipping tea at the hostel?
He's dead set on this.
I didn't expect you to take such an interest in our work here, officer. Yes, indeed. Both require a great deal of research, attention to detail, and, above all, persistence. There are 4 in total. One is to the south, on this little peninsula, by the boathouses there. It's very near. Another we set in Land's End, to the northeast. It's behind a small sand dune there, on your way to the old radio tower, after the church. The third is set near the canal, where you crossed, by a concrete slab. A big thicket of reeds going up the slope, and among them, you should check at least one of those before returning to this one, since I just said it. This one's more of a technicality, but still, better safe and stupid than sorry.
That seems like a lot. Do we really have time for this extracurricular venture? Is it?
If you think it's important, you have been right before.
Bring it to me at once. Just make sure the trap is closed tight.
He's not comfortable with the possibility that you'll claim the find, but he's lying about this even to himself.
That's highly unlikely, officer. But in the event you do, I'll spray you with a pheromone mixture I developed. It's made of musk and research chemicals. The pheromone should attract the insect to you, or at least prevent it from bolting at the sight of you. It's quite potent. Will last you about a week.
This is the smell of dying reeds, of longing crumbling into the water.
I hope you're not buying this. He dispenses it without letting you touch the canister, so it would be precious like holy water.
It is precious. A single dose cost me 50 real to develop. Not that I expect you to understand self-financing one's own research.
Right. Which means you two can pack up and go back to the whirling.
Whatever he thinks about this detour, it's clear that these men are exhausted and in need of assistance.
Finally, someone's talking sense.
Thank you for your help. Gary and I will start breaking down camp. If you have any more questions, now's the time to ask. We'll be gone once you get to it.
If it's more cryptid-related business you want to discuss, you'll have time for that later too. But what if the information is vital? On the hunt.
I've just always liked animals and puzzles. Searching for cryptids is a bit of both.
He seems reluctant to talk about himself, but he'll open up, if you prod a little.
It's not child's play, just because I have to traipse through the mud every so often. Real. I know you think one is a respectable profession, while the other is superstition. Everyone does. Indeed. My methods do not differ from other scientists. I simply draw upon a wider variety of evidence. And I have more hope that something truly surprising might happen. No, as I said, I have yet to catch a cryptid, although I have come close. Close enough to keep trying.
Interesting. Something for later, this close call.
Everything from forgotten regional lore to newspaper accounts, like the one that brought us here, to look for the Phasmid. I keep a very open mind.
He's interested in things that people believe that scientists don't.
Most establishment scientists only care about reputation and remuneration, not real research, and certainly not the truth. They're a cowardly lot. Both the field and basement archives can be dangerous places. No, very few cryptids are ever discovered, and not for a lack of trying. To stay hidden is a cryptid's primary quality. It's even in the name, cryptid. Of the list of cryptids kept by the Cryptozoological Society of Chemnee, which is 4,082 items long, about 2,000 have been confirmed as hoaxes. 2 are categorized as confirmed discoveries. The rest are in differing stages of discovery, refutation, and data collection. Yes, the Chateau Quan forest pygmy, who turned out to be an extinct species of primate, and a cave salamander from Hugo Grad, who is, honestly, quite unremarkable. It's in a zoo somewhere. We cryptozoologists are brutally honest with ourselves. More so even than the public. With cryptids, most cryptids are hoaxes or they are never found. That does not mean we should stop searching. Indeed. If our expedition is successful, every paper in the world will report on it. From Revachol to Dushantu. It will be a zoological miracle.
The hair on your arms stand up. Electricity. Sounds like reeds hissing.
Yes?
Hello, I'm Gary. Very generous of you to help us out, officer. Yellow man. I mean, officer.
The lieutenant raises his eyebrows slightly and takes out his notebook. Yellow man. That sounds awfully familiar. Something to keep in mind for later.
I'm just waiting for my friend Morel to finish up with his insect traps so we can return to civilization. I like nature, just not this bloody coast. It's mostly drunks and degenerates that come here. Oh, I've been tempted. But someone has to stay strong for Revachol.
He pronounces Revachol with a hard K, unlike other people. Serious question time. This man is no innocent. No one is.
Not many Sealites here, or anywhere, other than Sail. I meant no offense, truly.
Do you remember how, when we met Measurehead and I said the next races will be a really good one? Well, this is that racist.
Hey, man, all I meant was there are not many Sealites around here. I'm just stating a fact. Oh, yes. Of course he is. I was just speaking about his connections. Let's change the subject, okay? My mug? Why would you think that?
His eyes widen at the sight of the mug. He's seen it before, all right.
I may have had a similar-looking mug in the past. That's all. Okay, I admit it. I threw the mug away in the trash container behind the hostel. I know I shouldn't have, and I am very sorry, officer. You're not going to find me, are you? Okay, I deserve that. And I won't do it again. You have my word. I don't know what got into me. Stuffing my garbage in another man's property, I've been having trouble at work lately. The Koikos are price dumping us out of competition.
What did you do, Gary?
Nothing. Nothing. Just answering some questions. Helping out the law. I know a guy who works with the trash collection services, CS Municipal. He gave me a master key for the trash containers of Martinez. So I can use the Whirling's trash compactor to store my own stuff. Garbage disposal is expensive as hell. The damn Bohemians run it like a mob. I'm sorry, okay? I thought I could cut costs. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have disgraced myself.
Disgraced? No need for the histrionic, sir. It was, after all, just a trash container.
He studies his reaction. Gary doesn't answer.
Officer, please. Let me explain. It's not like that. I was only cleaning up. I live right across the yard from where he was hanged, and I saw him stripped naked. All the clothes lying around in the yard, smelling. People are animals, you know? Then I came out to clean up the rags because no one else would. I put them into the Whirling's trash, along with a broken mug, admittedly. Okay, I was coming to throw the mug away, and, well, I threw the mug there and the clothes too.
Right. It was just civic duty.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. Civic duty.
As he shifts uncomfortably, a series of clicks, like the clinking of glass beads against one another as they roll across a hardwood floor. You've heard this sound before, but where?
What sound? Really? There's lots of weird stuff out here in the reeds, though. Insects, trash. Could be the wind shifting some garbage nearby.
Every day, the wind shifts the reeds and whatever was left in them. Tambourines and condom wrappers, plastic and glass bottles. The smell of decay. The sound you heard was not the sound of something easily abandoned.
Armor? No. I mean, yes. Of course. I know he was wearing armor, but I don't know anything about it.
An infant could see he's not telling the truth, but he's too scared to admit more wrongdoing. There's something going on here. You should observe him more closely after this topic is concluded.
I hope I could help your investigation, in my small way. I like to pronounce it the hard way, the old way, the Vespertine way.
He winks at you, trying to relay some hidden message, inviting you to mispronounce it too, perhaps. It's odd. It's a secret rite, a very fringe nationalist handshake, probably.
I told you everything I know, sir. I'm truly sorry for the mug, but I have nothing to do with that.
He's not feeling too comfortable in his own skin. Odd, I'd say. Uncomfortable shifting around doesn't make him the killer, though. it's something else.
No. I help Morell with research sometimes, and I've learned some things along the way. But I don't usually go in for picnics like this on my own. Always a pleasure to see an officer of the law. I mean, officers.
That shirt looks very uncomfortable on him. Look at the buttons, barely keeping that thing together, as if something is ready to rip out from underneath. Yes, like a piece of ceramic armor, for example. One that makes a clicking sound when the plates meet each other, resembling pearls or marbles, stolen from the corpse in the yard near where he lives.
I knew you'd figure it out, officer. I'm sorry I didn't tell you at once. I was ashamed of what I did. And I didn't want you to know.
We're not detecting falsehood, sire. He's gearing up to admit the truth. This shame is surprisingly sincere.
Gary, what's going on?
Later, Morell. I've got apologizing to do.
No, you've got explaining to do.
He sighs again, hangs his head, and unbuttons his shirt fully. A cuirass that matches the dead man's boots comes into view. Soon it is in your hands, smelling of his sweat.
Because I was weak. I should have told you the moment I saw you. But
The hell, Gary? You in trouble?
I'll explain later. Everyone was picking those pieces off him, and I was watching them do it. And they'd scattered his clothes all over the yard. Everything was smelling. So I went there to take out the trash and started cleaning up. All those rags on the ground, him swinging up there, and I had a lapse of honor, sir. I thought, he's a foreigner. They all say he wasn't from here. Only the cuirass was left. So I stripped it off him. It was early in the morning. No one saw me. I took it with me. It was a mistake. Had I known it'd give you guys trouble, I wouldn't have... Fuck.
It's okay. It was a loose end, and you are tying it up now.
I'm so fucking sorry I called you Yellow Man. Seolite officers commanded the suzerain's navy. Most of them sided with the king when...
They were thoroughly conservative men, he realizes suddenly. It's difficult to say what the lieutenant thinks of this historic apology. His face does not belie emotions.
I always thought it was the Union. Some Union hardasses lynched him because of the strike. But almost everyone in town knows that. I wish I could tell you more.
This is all he knows.
Yes, absolutely. I will never do anything like this again.
That patch of reeds over there, it's a great place to hide something. Kind of out of the way, being so close to the water. Nothing. Just a hunch. The hunch passes, leaving you there, by the old boy bobbing in the water. Time to go. There's a trap in the reeds at your feet. Looks like the same one you saw Morel set before. Same mesh, same wiring. Behind you, the ruins of a residential building loom over the reeds. They whisper amongst themselves. Confidentially, snowflakes cling to their shivering stems. When this district was booming, the reeds were kept at bay. Nothing obscured the freshly painted facades. Nowhere for drunks and adventurous teenagers to hide. Now only the wind blows. Locusts are crawling around in the trap, confused but uneaten. You see no carnivorous reed phasmid gorging on them.
Big surprise. Anyway, 1 down, 3 to go. Surely. Anyway, the air is nice and fresh here.
Winter, slow to let go of Revachol, flecks some more wet snow from above. The snow falls lazily, making the beach sand paler still, mixing with the rust-colored sewage runoff. And to think, it seemed as though it were already spring. You're warm in your hat and your coat. Like a well-equipped explorer, you comfortably survey the white landscape. More winding coastlines lined with abandoned buildings, crumbling piers, salt water lapping at their dark piles, grey and red forgotten city blocks, what remains of the pre-revolutionary effort to gentrify the coast. The waters turn black, Coal City in the shadow of Saint-Martin, a boomtown, back when coal extracted from countless shafts near the city was needed to power Revachol. No more. The coal was supplanted by petroleum from the ocean floor and hydropower from the Esperance. Everything crumbled. These days, only the weakest remain in Coal City. Their hopes of getting rich linger in the defunct shafts under their feet. Below the old mines, l'Océan Municipal, Revachol's underground cemetery, Le Petit Rat, braved the underground passageways, trying to get to Le Royaume, where the Philippian kings were interred, with their doctors and their admirals. Mausoleums, burial chambers, leaf gold still remains on the double door of the morning. Yes, to peel the gold off with his fingernails. Children under 14, they go underground looking for artifacts to sell to foreign museums, and for fabled relics. Their parents let them. They go deeper. After rubies, melchiorite, lapis lazuli, plundered from Safre and Seol during the time of the suzerain, in the burial chambers of the kings, Grand Old Philip, Guillaume II, and even in the mausoleum of Philip the Opulent. 2 kilometers underground, in a winding shaft along whose walls mirrors have been placed, so that daylight may eternally fall upon the richest of all the kings. The mausoleum contains untold quantities of gold, and that special, purest of the pure magenta cocaine, favored by Revacholian royalty. Few Petit Rat return from the shafts. Even fewer find what they're looking for. A small child steps out of the black tunnel with silver trinkets in her pockets. All around her, white snow on the extinguished coke furnaces, and on the weather-worn shacks where fathers beat their sons after drinking. The snow melts on your fingers, turning to water. The canal you crossed to get here and beyond it. Martinez proper, the district the police forgot to police. There is laughter, lights, attempts at entrepreneurial activity, cynicism. Someone is scraping snow off their windshield at the roundabout, in the midst of which a statue of Philip III serves as a destination for grade school field trips and a fine perch for winter birds. Like all monuments, it's also a warning. 6-story ruins on the south side of the roundabout cast a long shadow over the profligate king. A fenced-off yard. There's a truck belonging to a logistics company parked next to the gate. Bright light from a building behind the fence reflects off its hood. Clean white light coming from the windows of a clean cube-shaped office building hidden amidst ruins. A secret. The abandoned church, one of 2 remaining stave churches, which were collectively called Les Sept Sœurs. The other 6 sisters were destroyed during the Revolution. A serpentine strip of land weaving its way into the Martinez Inlet. Unfortunates on the run from the law, from themselves, sometimes hide out on nearby islets. Little dots in the ocean that are occasionally submerged when the tide is high and the weather foul. The remains of a camp on a jagged piece of rock, a tent, old dishes and cutlery, long since abandoned. A hermit crab scuttles among the debris, looking for a new shell. Further out, the lights burn bright on Resurrection. Way beyond Martinez, a popular spa destination for ample-bodied Ozon kids with equally ample pockets. Then there's Ozon, but the snow falls too thick. You cannot see that far. The Bay of Revachol, vastness, great depth, over 1,200 meters at its deepest. Water air brinier than here. It is crisscrossed by huge cargo ships bearing company logos. Wild pines, Zam, Mauryan, and at the farthest reaches of the Bay of Revachol, the shadow of the coalition warship Archer, on perpetual patrol duty, ready to unleash artillery fire if you were to rise up against the market. You shudder. The raised motorway, 881, separating Martinez from Jamrock. Vehicles whoosh past one another day and night, while those who reside in the labyrinthine alleyways beneath the motorway attempt to carry on with their lives in the snow and the slush. And south of the 881 is the Pox. Was once a park, a place for reflection and recuperation for the patients of the old military hospital. In the 20s, it was used as a quarantine center during a measles outbreak that killed many children. Most everyone has avoided the hospital and surrounding park ever since. The Pox is completely wild now. Evergreen thickets covered in snow and industrial dust. Feral dogs and even wolves roaming in packs. The police try to keep the deepest corners cordoned off. Heavy drug users do slip through and hole up in the old military hospital, hoping to find something to get high on among the hastily abandoned supplies, or just to overdose in peace. A line of motor garages with armored carapaces hunched in the cold. A mechanic is hard at work, patching up bullet holes in the side of a Capri 40. These are the garages of Precinct 41. Snow settles on the roof of the repurposed silk mill. It serves as your station. Shivering RCM personnel hurry in and out of the main entrance. Around you, the snow continues to fall. To the west, the ocean swells. The stairs descend to central Jamrock. A man named Cooklove has a snow-covered stall there in the market across the bridge. He sells kebab infested with fly larvae to your colleagues who believe eating it will make them immune to food poisoning. Snow falls on the utility district, the library, the florist, the Sarah Mauritian restaurant that offers homemade wine, and also on the brothels and drug dens and the chop shops of the Zemlyaki. All of this built around a lake that formed in a meteorite strike. At the center of this lake, there is a little ship. There are lights at the bottom of its hull. They are lights directed toward the seafloor, looking for something, like whiskers. A chill comes over you, crawling down your back. The sand under your feet is wet. Somewhere in the south, tarpaulin flap in the wind. More Coalition aerostatics. Occasionally, lights flash as they maneuver through the falling snow. One large airship carries crates in its belly. Layer upon layer of sand, poisoned with industrial runoff. For storm drainage, hidden bunkers. Rats scuttle. Someone stuffed a big old polar anorak into a concrete pipe under the boardwalk. It would keep you warm. You would probably never happen across it. But who knows?
We should keep moving. Who knows when the snow will let up?
Wait. Take a longer look at yourself and how you're reflected in that slick chemical rainbow. What do you see? Metaphor. It's always metaphor. This is more important than you. That's the blood of industry you see before you. The runoff from Coal City, further down the coast. The engines of fortune once roared here. Great wealth poured into Revachol, the Delta, as did smoke, waste, sickness, life. The engines stopped. The West Revacholian industrial base was dismantled after the war. Now, extinguished coke furnaces dot the landscape, a landscape despoiled by industry. Perhaps you could dedicate your life to cleaning it up. But you're a cop. You must concern yourself with different messes. Even so, it's pretty to think. A familiar apparatus lies among the reeds, another one of Morel's traps, weighed down by stones to keep it in place. The reeds bend forlornly toward the sand. Some tufts have been crushed. Snow covers the broken stalks like a shroud. In the east, the city center hums to you. The constant, distant song, louder on this part of the coast, nearer somehow. And there's that cold again, always the cold. This trap is also full of panicked locusts. No sign of any cryptozoological beast inside.
Another empty trap. Yep. The next one has a crab trapped in it. These are just crab traps, you do realize?